So, I'm going to talk about the emphasis of, like, Dr. Pepper. So, I've made videos like this before. One of which was the What Makes Me Tick video from early 2016, and I said, the things that make me tick right now are Taco Bell and Red Bull, and I didn't really have anything else to follow up besides that. Now, this was before Booger Man, this was before the Burps, this was before Frenchie and a lot of different stuff. So I'm always, I can't stress enough how always welcome it is to find another thing that actually gets me motivated. So, as like yesterday, I was so bored out of my mind, I was really content with just laying in my bed and letting an entire day pass. As long as I brushed my teeth, bathed, and ate, those were the only 3 things that I really had to do. Other than that, the rest of the day didn't matter. And, besides that, something that turned out to save the day was, of course, an old friend. So it's gotten to the point, I might add, where I've watched, when I said in late 2015 that I needed something new to watch, besides Super Mario Bros. 3 by Newfie Bonga, I wasn't joking. And that's kind of the thing, is it's just reached a point where, Super Mario Bros. 3, that, I watched that game quite a bit, but, things are just getting boring. I mean, how many times can you watch Mario save the princess, or Link defeat Ganon, or, Solid Snake save the world before it gets boring? I don't want to get too far into that story, so I'll say what saved the day is Beavis and Butthead. That's the old friend. So I thought, the Super Nintendo game, which I am going to do, probably by the time you see this video, it'll be happening. I'd like to start it around the same time as when Halloween gets ready to happen. It's going to be an autumn game, so it still is technically summer, but it's going to be basically probably the last game I do for 2017, unless I do like one more, but that's going to be late October and stuff. So Beavis and Butthead wound up saving the day, and I watched the game, but then something better happened. So I remembered, the Sega Genesis had a Beavis and Butthead, and I thought, well, isn't that just the same game? And the answer is no, it's not. The Sega Genesis Beavis and Butthead is a totally different game from the Super Nintendo one. So obviously both of these are fine choices, but the Sega one I actually think is probably the better one. That's the thing about that. The Sega one is kind of more almost like an inventory game, because you actually have to earn money in the game. You need money to get the tickets to go to the Guar concert, and you also need money to buy weapons. I mean, you go to the mall, you get some stuff, and it's interesting to see that. I mean, they put characters, Todd's in the game. One of Todd's friends, the other guy that kicks Beavis and Butthead's ass, is in the game. And, the military teacher who hates Beavis and Butthead, he's in the game. So it's just pretty interesting, and it got me thinking. I mean, I was vividly obsessed with this game yesterday, and pretty much am today as well. The whole thing is I think the style of that game, just Mike Judge coming up with those characters, if I were to ever be in a video game, it would be extremely similar to that. And I've said in the past, basically, acidic roots would be player one. I don't, maybe I'll draw myself one day as to what I would look like in an animated game, but Frenchy Talent would be player two. So, you look at Booger Man right there. You look at Booger Man, he's identifiable by his green spandex and red cape. Now, actually in the game, it's either his pants are dark green and his torso and chest is lime green. So the poster didn't do it, but I'm not complaining because I wasn't expecting Booger Man to have a poster. But yeah, he's pretty identifiable if you see screenshots of the game. Were I to actually have myself in a game, I would try and make it similar to Beavis and Butthead. Kind of like Frenchie would be the player two, I would be the player one. We would do stuff, but the means of attack, Beavis and Butthead basically burp to attack and fart to attack. And it's just kind of funny seeing how simplistic that is, because guess what some of my most popular videos are on acidic roots? The burping, that's an attack in Beavis and Butthead, just like it's an attack in Booger Man. So, that actually hurts enemies, it sickens them. You could imagine thinking, oh, well, what do we know acidic roots for? What do we kind of know Frenchy Talent for? We know them for the burps that they do. And it's the extra funny thing about it is, if you add farts to the mix, I'm not so sure I want to be known as just saying, I farted on an enemy and that took care of them. But, the whole thing is it was a means of attack. Beavis and Butthead didn't care, so you got to give them credit.